I know I probably shouldn't do this, but I'm going to anyways. This power steering pump has been leaking all over the place. Coming out slow and steady. Only busted my knuckle just a little bit. Man, this thing is gross. I don't know. We'll figure it out, I guess. Even though it does say made in China. I think we might be close. Oh yeah, that's power steering fluid. Hello folks, welcome to another video. We're back in the shop today. We're working again on this 1978 Ford F100. If this is your first time tuning in, we've been messing with this truck for the past few weeks now, getting it back on the road and running. We've done quite a few things. We put a Holley Sniper EFI on here, new fuel tank, a bunch of new ignition stuff, all sorts of goodies and stuff. We got this thing on the road and running, and we put a few miles on it and a burnout or two. But now it's time to do the regular old maintenance stuff. So I've got a stack of parts here. We've got a bunch of transmission fluid. We've got a Motorcraft transmission fluid filter and pan gasket. You may have heard in a few of the videos the power steering was whining a little bit. Typical Ford, the power steering whines. And rather than trying to change the seals or rebuild that old one, I just picked up this new car done remanufactured unit with some Lucas Oil power steering fluid, and I headed up to AutoZone and rented this pulley puller. So once I get that old pump off of here, I'll get it on the workbench here, pull that old pulley off, swap it over to this new unit here. So here's the new power steering pump. Looks like it's in pretty good shape. We just got to get the pulley swapped over and stuck on here and get all the fluid and everything drained out of it. So to start things off, I'm going to begin by draining all of the transmission fluid out of this thing. Now I'm doing a full fluid drain and refill. From the research that I've done online, it looks like this thing takes about 12 to 13 quarts of ATF. I looked at the dipstick and it says that we need Dextron 3 or Mercon transmission fluid. I just got a few of these gallons here at Walmart. Did a little bit of research on this fluid. It says it's pretty good quality, plenty enough to get us going. We're not doing anything crazy. It's not like we hot rod this truck or do burnouts or anything in it. So this is just a cruiser. So on the write-ups that I read online, it said you can clock the torque converter a certain way, and there's a drain plug on the bottom of it, so you can drain all the fluid out of the torque converter. You can drop the pan, drain all the fluid out of it from there, and let it drain throughout the day to make sure every bit of it comes out. And then I'm going to jump over to the power steering and start getting the old pump pulled off, get this pulley swapped over, and start putting stuff back together. And then I'll jump back to the transmission, put the new filter in, put the pan back on, and fill it up with fluid, run it through the gears, get all the fluid pumped through the system. We'll get it all buttoned up and take it for a little cruise. So let's get started draining this fluid. So as you can kind of see, this power steering pump has been leaking all over the place. Pan's all wet. It's been blasting the oil filter and dripping on down. So we definitely need to get this thing changed out. From what I read online, it says that you can turn the crank and you can rotate the torque converter to where the drain is pointing down. So that's what I'm gonna do. So as you can see on the bottom of the bell housing, there's this little plate with these two bolts, and we're gonna pop that off and get our eyes on the torque converter, and we'll get that drain plug clocked downward so we can get this thing draining. All right, we've got that cover popped off here. Now you can kind of see the flex plate and the torque converter. I'm gonna start turning this crank, and hopefully we can see a drain plug present itself to us. All right, we got everything rotated around here, and we have found the drain plug. So I'm gonna get that pulled out. I got my drain pan here. We're gonna let that thing start dripping out of there, and then I'm gonna pull all the pan bolts out and start draining the fluid out of the pan. All right, there we go. We're draining, coming out slow and steady. Okay, now that we've got the transmission fluid draining out of the torque converter, we're gonna go ahead and start pulling this power steering pump off of here. It looks like there's just a couple nuts here we got to break loose. Crack this tensioner loose, we'll pull the belt off and pull one of these lines, start draining the fluid out of it, and hopefully we can get this thing knocked out pretty easily and don't run into too many headaches. All right, we got most of the bolts loose. We're going to tap this thing back and get some tension off this belt here. Almost there. All right, the belt's off. Now let's start pulling the rest of these bolts off, and I believe the power steering should come off. But before I'm going to take this thing off, I'm going to pull this fluid line off here and drain as much of the fluid out of the pump as I can. I don't know how much is in there. It's leaked quite a bit, I think. Oops. So let's go ahead and knock that out. This looks like this isn't the first time this thing's been changed out. It's got some scarring on here. I think I may have to use some vice grips, at least to get it cracked loose. God dang, why is that so freaking tight? Ooh, there it goes. Only busted my knuckle just a little bit. Get this thing slowly worked off of here. Come on, little buddy. There we go. Not much is coming out. Got a little bit coming out of the line though, slowly. The pump itself looks like it's pretty darn dry. Once I get this pump off of here, I'm gonna jack the front of the truck up so the front wheels are off the ground, and I'm gonna turn the wheel lock to lock, and hopefully that steering box will pump out any of the remaining fluid out of this line and into the drain pan. But before we can do that, we're gonna pop these bracket bolts off of here and get this power steering pump out. Which actually I might just be able to, yeah, I'm just gonna take off these 3 mounting bolts here. Hopefully I can just leave this bracket on here. So let's see if we can't get that done. Let's put the electric wrench on here. Oops, forgot the return line there. Let's get that thing pulled off of there. These little clamps are always such a pain. All right, that should be enough. Dang, that hose does not look like it's in very good shape. Come on, buddy. I got a trick. I think I can get that off of there. There we go. All right, now we've got the power steering pump chucked up in the vise here. I'm gonna put this removal tool on here, pull this pulley off the shaft there, and we'll get it swapped over to this new one over here. All right, we got this tool all rigged up on here. Let's get her zipped off. And there we have it. Now that I got the pulley pulled off, I'm gonna pop these 3 bolts out and take the pump off of this bracket, and then I'll put the new one on the bracket, pulley back on, and we'll be rocking and rolling. And there we go. I think I want to give this bracket a quick little bath. It's a little bit crusty. Now I've only got just a little bit of degreaser, and this thing's pretty crusty, but something's better than nothing. If we're putting nice new clean parts on here, we might as well make the bracket nice and clean, or as best as we can get it. We'll let that soak for just a minute, and then we'll start scrubbing it. I'm gonna use this scraper to get as much gunk and crud off of here as I can. This thing is pretty gross. Spray it down again here. Get our scrubber nice and soaked. Man, this thing is gross. Well, it ain't perfect, but a lot better than it was. I think we'll run with that. All right, we got our bracket chucked back up in the vise. We got our new pump here. We'll get these bolts all lined up, zip back in here, and then we can toss that pulley back on. We got old Nelly down here supervising. All right, let's get this pulley tossed on here. I think that's about it. I think that's pretty much it. Maybe a little bit further. I think you're supposed to go until you stop. So I'm gonna go until I stop. We're just a couple turns away. All right, there it is. Our new pulley is installed. Looks pretty good. We got it nice and flush right here. Looks pretty good from under there. Let's get this puppy tossed back on. All right, I went ahead and tossed on a new return hose. Let's get this pump installed, get it all hooked up, and we can be on to the next thing. Return hose connected. Actually, hold on, I don't want to do that yet. So we've got this thing loosely installed now. I'm gonna pause where I'm at for this, and then I'm gonna jack the truck up and rotate the steering so it pumps some of the fluid out of these lines. All right, let's see if any fluid comes out of here. A little bit's coming out. A little bit more. Sorry about that, I dropped you guys in the drain pan. All right, I think we got all the fluid pushed up out of here. I'm gonna connect those lines to the pump. We should be good to go. All right, I'm gonna get this return line stuck on here. Now this O-ring here doesn't look to be in too bad a shape, but I'm gonna replace it anyways. I've got a little kit with assorted O-rings. I think we can find one that matches up. There's the old one. And it looks like I found a pretty decent match here to be about the same diameter. Oh yeah, much better. Let's get her stuck in here. I'm gonna use these vice grips to tighten it up. I know I probably shouldn't do this, but I'm going to anyways. All right, I'm assuming that's supposed to swivel like that. I don't recall the other one doing that. Hopefully we don't have a leak. But it's tight. We shall see. Put that on there so we don't get dirt down in it. All right, let's get the belt back on. Get some tension on this thing. I've got it pretty much lined up to where the bolts were before. I'm going to go just a little bit further in case this belt may have been stretched. That looks pretty good to me. Get these tightened down. And there it is. All right, now that we got the power steering stuff mostly sorted out, we're going to jump back over to the transmission fluid change and filter change and all that. I think the torque converter is mostly drained out by now. So now we're going to get this pan dropped off, get the rest of the fluid out, put this new filter in, and hopefully fill it back up with fluid. Then we can jump back to the power steering, get it nice and bled, and we can take this thing for a little drive. Okay, let's get these fluid pan bolts undone here. Yikes, that one was kind of loose. They all seem kind of loose. There we go, starting to drain. Eek. All right, our pan is off. We just got a little bit of a gasket material to get off of here. Actually, looks like it's peeling off pretty easy. All right, let's go take a look at this new filter and see what we got on our hands as far as what it takes to change this thing out. Here's our new filter screen and our gasket. Looks like it's just got a few bolts that hold it in place. Nothing too terribly complex here. I'm gonna sit this gasket out in the sun. Hopefully it works its way into a usable shape. Actually, it's not too bad right now, I guess. But we'll get this old one pulled out, toss this new one in, and we'll be rocking and rolling. So we've just got several 5/16 bolts to pop out of this filter. So let's do it. And there it is, pretty straightforward. See a little bit of debris on the screen there. All right, here's the old one and here's the new one. The old one has this paper gasket on here, and this new one didn't come with one. And I've tried to slowly peel this one off, but it looks like it's falling apart as I do so. That's not gonna work. So I don't know, thinking about putting like a thin layer of RTV on this, just something to seal it up. This definitely didn't come with a gasket. I don't know, we'll figure it out, I guess. Okay, so after doing a quick Google search, I'm definitely not gonna put RTV on this. And it says that you can just put this thing straight on there with no gasket. This is the Motorcraft one, even though it does say made in China. This is a Motorcraft unit, and it didn't come with a gasket, so I guess I'm just not gonna run one. But looking up in here, everything looks pretty hunky-dory to me. I think once it's all cinched down, there's enough bolts there that it should do its deal here. I mean, this is just a little metal screen, so we're gonna run it like that. All right, I think we're good to go. Okay, now that we've got the filter back on there, we've got the fluid pan all drained out. I'm gonna clean it up really good. I've got the bolts soaking in a degreaser mix here. Our gasket's been sitting out in the sun. It looks nice and flat now. So let's get this stuff all cleaned up. We'll get this pan tossed back on here. This thing is pretty gross. We'll give it a quick blast with some brake cleaner. Should be good to go. All right, here's our clean pan, our new gasket, and our cleaned up hardware. Let's get this stuff tossed back on. Okay, we've got this pan back on, and we've got the cover back on, and the drain plug back in the torque converter. It's all looking very nice. There's our cover here. So now it's time to fill this thing up with some fluid. Let's get some ATF in here, hopefully without spilling it everywhere. Oh, I'm doing it okay, kind of. It says it takes about 8 to 13 quarts. I have 12 here, so hopefully that's enough. All right, I put about 8 quarts of transmission fluid back in this thing. Go ahead and toss some power steering fluid in this pump here, and I'm gonna start up the truck, start turning the wheels back and forth, put the transmission through a couple gears, and then I'll check all the fluids. All right, let's fire it up. A little more fluid in here, sucked it right down. Not seeing any leaks or anything. Power steering fluid is staying where it should. I'm gonna turn the wheel back and forth a little bit, see if I can bleed the system. Power steering's already making way less noise than it was. That other one was in no good shape. Let's check this fluid again. Yeah, suck some down a little bit. Put a little more in. And we're pushing some bubbles out. All right, I'm gonna run this thing through the gears, try to pump all that fluid through everything. All right, let's kill it, see what it looks like. All right, I've added a little bit more of this last jug. Let's see how much we got in there. Kind of hard to tell. I think we might be close. All right, I can't tell for sure if everything's right where it should be, but it's all got fluid in it. So I'm gonna run this puller and installer kit back to AutoZone, put a couple miles on this thing, and we'll check all the fluids on a nice flat level surface there in the AutoZone parking lot. Power steering already feels better. All right, here we are at AutoZone. All right, we got a refund for our Luna tool. When I was walking out, looked under here and I see some leakage going. A little bit of a puddle on the ground there. Don't know where exactly that's coming from, but I see some dripping on the oil pan there. I think this is power steering. I don't think it's transmission. Let's see here. Oh yeah, that's power steering fluid. So maybe that little seal I put on there didn't do the job, or we're leaking from somewhere else. I don't know. Let's check the other fluids though. Looks like it's full. So I think we're good there. I may have overfilled. Dang. May have overfilled the power steering fluid. Maybe that's where it's leaking from. I don't know. Grimy in there, but it's full. I don't know. I think we're all right. Let's head home. Fire's right up. Let's get on down the road here. It's running good. Seems like it's shifting all right. So I think we are successful. Shifts and drives fine. I think we're good to go. All right, I pulled into this little parking lot. I want to double check and make sure this thing isn't leaking. I don't see anything spraying around or directly leaking. It's kind of dripping, but I don't know if that's just residual or what that is exactly. But it's shifting and turning and driving and doing everything like it should, so I think we're pretty much good to go here. Pretty good looking old truck, man. I love this thing. All right, well, that's gonna do it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching me tinker along with this little old truck. Slowly but surely, we're making her better and better. There'll be more content coming here soon. We got plenty more stuff to fix on this truck. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Y'all take care.